in the hope that somebody will come along and say there's money in this, let's support Meghan and her as ever brand.
The truth they've been hiding is finally coming out, and it's worse than anyone imagined. Tom Bower has obtained leaked documents that reveal a shocking secret: financial collapse, marriage on the brink, desperate deals with shady investors. Everything you've seen has been a lie. The mansion, funded by secret loans. The brand?
I thought she behaved so badly, and Harry too.
A complete disaster. Their relationship, hanging by a thread. Bower's new book exposes it all, and what he's discovered about Meghan's control over Harry will leave you speechless. This isn't just another royal scandal, this is the beginning of their complete downfall. You won't believe what happens next. For those unfamiliar with Bower's work, he's known for his thorough and often controversial biographical investigations. Over his career, he's written extensively about figures ranging from Robert Maxwell to Richard Branson, from Gordon Brown to Simon Cowell. His approach is characterized by extensive research, numerous interviews with sources close to his subjects, and a willingness to present unflattering details that other biographers might shy away from. Whether you agree with his conclusions or not, Bower's books are typically packed with information drawn from years of investigation and hundreds of interviews. The first Revenge book arrived at a time when public interest in Harry and Meghan's story was at a peak. The couple had already stepped back from royal duties in 2020, relocated to California, and given their explosive interview with Oprah Winfrey in 2021. Bower's book added fuel to an already blazing fire by including allegations about Meghan's behavior as a working royal, claims about Harry's estrangement from longtime friends, and details about the couple's relationships with other high-profile figures, including the Beckhams. The book presented a narrative that contrasted sharply with the victimhood story that Harry and Meghan themselves had been telling through various media appearances. Now, several years have passed since that first book, and the landscape has shifted considerably. When Harry and Meghan first left the United Kingdom and settled in Montecito, California, there was a sense of new beginnings and unlimited potential. They signed major deals with streaming giants and launched their own charitable foundation. However, the years since have been marked by what many observers describe as a series of professional setbacks and public relations challenges. The Spotify deal, which was reportedly worth around $20 million, ended after just one season of Meghan's podcast Archetypes. This came as a surprise to many, given the initial fanfare around the partnership and the platform's investment in the project. Following the cancellation, there were reports in the media suggesting tension between the couple and Spotify executives, though the exact reasons for the partnership's end were never fully detailed publicly. Their Netflix arrangement has produced mixed results as well. While their documentary series Harry and Meghan attracted significant viewership when it was released, subsequent projects have failed to generate the same level of attention or critical acclaim. The streaming service signed the couple to a reported $100 million deal, but the return on that investment has been questioned by industry analysts and media commentators. There have been whispers about projects being shelved or reworked, and questions about what exactly the couple will produce next to justify such a substantial contract. Then there's Archewell, the non-profit foundation that Harry and Meghan established as the centerpiece of their philanthropic efforts. The organization was meant to be their vehicle for making a positive impact on causes they care about, from mental health to gender equality. However, Archewell has struggled to make the kind of splash one might expect from a foundation backed by two of the world's most famous people. Tax filings and public reports have shown relatively modest fundraising numbers compared to other celebrity-backed charities, leading to questions about the organization's effectiveness and management. All of this context is important because Bower's new book is arriving at what many see as a critical juncture for the Sussexes. The initial excitement around their departure from royal life has faded, replaced by a more complicated narrative about two people trying to establish themselves in a competitive and often unforgiving entertainment industry. They're no longer novelties or fresh faces in Hollywood. They're now expected to deliver results, and the pressure appears to be mounting. According to early reports about Revenge 2, Bower intends to structure his book around several key phases of Harry and Meghan's time in America. The first phase would be what he characterizes as the initial euphoria of freedom, those early months when the couple seemed to be riding high on their newfound independence. This would cover their move to California, their early public appearances, and the signing of their major business deals. The second phase appears to focus on mounting professional failures, the period when things began to go wrong with various projects and partnerships. This is where Bauer will reportedly dig into what happened behind the scenes with Spotify, Netflix, and other ventures that didn't pan out as planned. The third phase examines the personal toll these professional setbacks have taken on their relationships, both with each other and with family members and friends. Bauer has suggested in recent interviews that there are significant strains in the marriage itself, though he's been careful not to reveal too many specifics before the book's release. Finally, the fourth phase looks at their frantic pivot to new ventures, their attempts to reinvent themselves yet again and find a sustainable path forward. This includes everything from Meghan's lifestyle brand launch to Harry's continued work with the Invictus Games and their various public speaking engagements. Bauer has hinted that the book will draw on fresh interviews with people in the couple's inner circle, though as is typical with his work, many of these sources will likely remain anonymous. He's also mentioned leaked documents and correspondence that will shed new light on decisions the couple has made and tensions that have existed behind closed doors. The investigative journalist has built his career on getting people to talk, often individuals who have grievances or who feel they've been treated poorly by the subjects of his books. What makes Bauer's work particularly notable is his track record for thorough sourcing. His previous book on the Sussexes contained numerous allegations and unflattering claims, yet no legal action was taken against him by Harry or Meghan. This is significant because it suggests that Bauer and his publishers were confident in their evidence and sources. If the claims were false or defamatory, one would expect lawyers to have been involved. The absence of legal challenges lends a certain credibility to his reporting, even if readers may disagree with his interpretations or conclusions. As we approach the publication date, speculation is already building about what specific revelations the book will contain and how Harry and Meghan will respond. Will they ignore it, as they've largely done with other critical coverage? Will they issue statements through representatives, or will they address it more directly through their own media channels? The couple has shown a willingness to fight back against what they consider unfair press coverage. But they've also sometimes chosen to stay silent, perhaps calculating that engaging would only amplify the criticism. One of the central themes that Bauer reportedly explores in his upcoming book is the financial situation of Harry and Meghan, a topic that has been the subject of considerable speculation since they left royal life. When the couple announced their departure from the royal family in early 2020, they spoke about their desire to become financially independent. This was a key part of their justification for stepping back from royal duties. They wanted to earn their own money, support themselves, and not rely on funding from the sovereign grant or Prince Charles's private income from the Duchy of Cornwall. However, according to early reports about what Bauer's book will reveal, the reality of achieving that financial independence has been far more challenging than the couple may have anticipated. The book apparently dedicates significant space to examining Archewell, their non-profit foundation, and raises questions about its financial management and effectiveness. Archewell was established with great fanfare as the couple's philanthropic vehicle. The name itself is meaningful to them, derived from the Greek word arch, meaning source of action, and it's also connected to their son Archie's name. The foundation's mission statement speaks to building compassionate communities and creating systemic cultural change across various areas including mental health, gender equity, and environmental conservation. On paper, it sounds ambitious and well-intentioned. However, Bauer's investigation reportedly uncovers some troubling details about the foundation's operations. According to what's been shared about the book's contents, the 2024 tax filings for Archewell showed that the organization raised only around $2 million, despite having the backing of two globally recognized figures who should theoretically be able to attract significant donor interest. For context, other celebrity-backed foundations often raise tens of millions of dollars annually, particularly when those celebrities are as famous and media-savvy as Harry and Meghan. But the fundraising numbers are apparently only part of the story. Bauer alleges that the tax filings mask deeper issues with how money has been managed within the organization. The book reportedly claims that millions of dollars have been funneled into what are classified as operational costs, but which actually covered personal expenses for the couple. This is a serious allegation, as non-profit foundations in the United States are subject to strict regulations about how funds can be used. If donations meant for charitable purposes are instead being used for personal benefit, that would potentially violate tax laws and charity regulations. One of the more explosive claims that Bauer apparently makes involves what he describes as a secret emergency fund. According to the book, Harry accessed approximately $5 million from royal inheritance funds, money that would have been set aside for him by family members, possibly including funds from his late mother, Princess Diana, or his great-grandmother, the Queen Mother. This money was reportedly used to cover various expenses, including what Bauer characterizes as Meghan's wardrobe costs for public appearances and Harry's polo-related expenses. Meanwhile, according to these allegations, staff members at Archewell were going unpaid for months. If true, this would paint a picture of serious financial mismanagement and questionable priorities. It suggests a situation where personal luxuries were being maintained even as the organization supposedly dedicated to charitable work was failing to meet basic obligations like paying its employees. The book also apparently delves into the couple's attempts to secure funding from outside investors. According to what's been reported, Harry and Meghan reached out to various figures in Silicon Valley, the heart of America's tech industry and a place where fortunes are made and lost with regularity. Bauer allegedly details how they courted individuals with questionable backgrounds, including one tech entrepreneur who had been linked to data privacy scandals. This outreach to Silicon Valley makes sense in some ways. Many celebrities and public figures have successfully partnered with tech investors to launch media companies, production studios, and digital platforms. However, the challenge for Harry and Meghan is that they're not just any celebrities. They're members of the British royal family, even if they're no longer working royals, and that brings additional scrutiny to any business partnerships they enter into. Perhaps the most dramatic revelation Bauer apparently shares involves negotiations with a Middle Eastern billionaire. According to the book, there's a leaked email chain showing Meghan negotiating what would have been a silent partnership deal. The terms allegedly included a $10 million investment in exchange for what was described as exclusive access to royal gossip. This claim, if accurate, is particularly damaging because it suggests the couple was willing to commodify their insider knowledge of the royal family and potentially share private information about Harry's relatives in exchange for financial backing. The deal apparently fell through, and according to Bauer's account, this was because of Harry's reaction when he learned about it. The book claims this sparked one of the most significant arguments between the couple, suggesting that Harry drew a line at certain types of commercialization of his family connections. This detail is interesting because it hints at potential differences between Harry and Meghan about what they're willing to do to maintain their lifestyle and business ventures. Speaking of that lifestyle, the book apparently examines the costs of maintaining their Montecito mansion. The property itself is impressive, a multi-million-dollar estate in one of California's most exclusive neighborhoods. But owning such a property comes with enormous ongoing expenses, from property taxes to maintenance to staffing. According to Bauer's research, the couple is spending approximately $3 million annually just on security alone. This security cost is understandable, given their profile and the genuine threats they likely face. However, it also represents a massive ongoing expense that needs to be funded somehow. The book alleges that part of this security cost has been covered by undisclosed loans from Hollywood allies. One name that apparently comes up is Tyler Perry, the actor, director, and producer who allowed Harry and Meghan to stay at his Los Angeles property when they first moved to California. Perry is enormously wealthy and has been publicly supportive of the couple, so it's plausible he might have provided financial assistance, though this has never been confirmed publicly. The question of loans is particularly interesting because it suggests the couple may be living beyond their current means, relying on borrowed money while hoping that future projects will generate enough income to pay back what they owe. This is not an uncommon situation in entertainment and business circles, where people invest heavily upfront with the expectation of future returns. However, it does put pressure on Harry and Meghan to succeed with their various ventures, because failure doesn't just mean embarrassment, it means potential financial crisis. One of the most personal and potentially painful revelations that Bauer apparently includes involves Harry's attempts to reconcile with his father, King Charles. According to the book, Harry has made repeated efforts to heal the rift with his family, but these attempts have been motivated at least partly by financial considerations rather than purely emotional ones. Specifically, Bauer claims that Harry has been trying to access frozen trust funds that are currently controlled by his father. Trust funds are common among wealthy families, including royalty, as a way to provide for future generations while maintaining some control over how and when that money is distributed. It appears that Harry has access to some funds, but that other money remains frozen, possibly as leverage to encourage certain behaviours, or as protection against what the family might view as financial irresponsibility. The book reportedly describes a tense video call between Harry and King Charles where the king accused his son of financial irresponsibility. If this conversation actually took place as described, it would have been deeply painful for both men. For Charles, watching his son struggle financially and make what he views as poor decisions must be difficult. For Harry, being lectured by his father about money while feeling that he's been cut off from resources that should rightfully be his would likely breed resentment and frustration. What emerges from all these financial details, if Bauer's reporting is accurate, is a picture of a couple who are living in a gilded cage of their own making. They have the appearance of wealth and success, the mansion in Montecito, the high-profile deals, the celebrity connections. But underneath that surface, there may be significant financial strain, unpaid debts, strained relationships with potential benefactors, and a constant scramble to keep everything afloat while maintaining the image of success that their brand requires. Beyond the financial struggles, Bauer's book apparently takes aim at the string of professional setbacks that have marked Harry and Meghan's time in California. According to early reports about the book's content, Bauer frames these career disappointments not as bad luck or external sabotage, but as self-inflicted wounds resulting from poor judgment and what he characterizes as hubris. This is a key part of his overall narrative, the idea that the couple's problems stem largely from their own decisions and behavior rather than from the unfair treatment they often cite as the reason for their difficulties. The Spotify podcast deal is one of the most prominent examples of a partnership that began with enormous promise but ended in disappointment. When Meghan announced her podcast Archetypes in 2022, there was genuine excitement about what she might create. The concept was interesting, exploring the labels and stereotypes that hold women back through conversations with various guests. The production values were high, and the guest list for the first season included impressive names like Serena Williams, Mariah Carey, and Mindy Kaling. However, the show was cancelled after just one season, despite Spotify having reportedly paid around $20 million for the multi-year deal. When a streaming platform invests that kind of money in a project, they typically expect multiple seasons and a substantial content library. The fact that the partnership ended so abruptly raised questions about what went wrong behind the scenes. Bauer's book apparently provides some answers to those questions, drawing on interviews with people who worked on the production. According to these sources, executives at Spotify referred to Meghan as a diva in internal communications. This characterization suggests someone who was difficult to work with, demanding, and perhaps unrealistic in her expectations. The book specifically alleges that Meghan refused to record episodes without a full glam team present, meaning professional hairstylists, makeup artists, and wardrobe people. For context, many successful podcasters work in relatively simple setups. While video podcasts do require some attention to appearance, audio podcasts traditionally prioritize content over presentation. The fact that Meghan allegedly insisted on elaborate preparation for what was primarily an audio medium suggests either a concern with maintaining a certain image or perhaps a lack of understanding about the medium she was working in. Of course, if video elements were planned from the beginning, having professional styling makes more sense, but the characterization from executives suggests they viewed her demands as excessive. More seriously, the book reportedly includes claims about creative control disputes. According to Bauer's sources, Meghan wanted significant say over all aspects of the production, which led to conflicts with the production team and ultimately resulted in scrapped interviews with high-profile guests. When you're producing content for a major platform like Spotify, there are typically established processes and professional standards that need to be followed. If one person, even the star of the show, is constantly pushing back against those standards and demanding things be done differently, it can create chaos and delays. Perhaps the most damaging allegation involves what Bauer describes as Meghan ghosting guests during production. One particularly troubling claim involves a high-profile feminist figure who was supposed to appear on the podcast. According to the book, this person felt used for publicity purposes, as if Meghan was more interested in being associated with her name than in having a genuine conversation. The experience apparently left this guest feeling disrespected, and word of this treatment spread through certain circles. In industries like entertainment and media, reputation matters enormously. People talk, and when someone gains a reputation for being difficult or disrespectful, it can lead to what the book describes as a quiet industry boycott. This doesn't mean official blacklisting or anything organized, but rather a situation where people simply choose not to work with someone because they've heard negative things from trusted colleagues. If Meghan developed such a reputation, it would make future projects much harder to get off the ground, regardless of her fame or the quality of her ideas. The Netflix situation is equally complicated according to Bauer's investigation. While the couple did successfully release their documentary series Harry and Meghan, which attracted substantial viewership, subsequent projects have apparently run into serious problems. The book claims that one documentary series focused on global inequality was shelved after costs ballooned to $15 million over the original budget. Budget overruns happen in film and television production, sometimes for legitimate reasons like unexpected complications or necessary changes to the creative vision. However, when overruns are this substantial, it typically indicates serious problems with planning, management, or both. According to Bauer's sources, the budget problem stemmed largely from reshoots that Meghan insisted upon. She allegedly clashed repeatedly with directors over how she was being portrayed, wanting changes to footage that had already been shot. This presents a challenging dynamic. On one hand, it's understandable that someone would want to ensure they're portrayed fairly and accurately, especially given the couple's stated concerns about media misrepresentation. On the other hand, documentary filmmaking requires a degree of trust between subject and filmmaker. If the subject is constantly second-guessing creative decisions and demanding reshoots, it can compromise the integrity of the project and make it impossible to complete on time and on budget. The book apparently includes particularly revealing footage from a test screening where Meghan is shown breaking down emotionally during an on-camera interview. At this moment, she allegedly admits that the couple's brand has become diluted and that they're now viewed as toxic in Hollywood circles. If this footage exists and is portrayed accurately in Bauer's account, it would represent a rare moment of unguarded honesty from Meghan about the challenges they're facing. However, Bauer apparently characterizes this moment as a pity play rather than genuine vulnerability, suggesting he views it as calculated rather than authentic. The interpretation of such a moment really depends on your perspective. Supporters of Meghan might see it as a human being struggling with genuine difficulties and finally admitting the toll it's taking. Critics might view it as performative and/or attempt to generate sympathy when other tactics haven't worked. The truth probably lies somewhere in between. Most people have moments of genuine emotion that are also shaped by awareness of how they'll be perceived. Beyond the streaming deals, the book apparently examines Meghan's attempt to launch a lifestyle brand called American Riviera Orchard. When this venture was announced, it seemed like a natural fit for someone with Meghan's background and interests. She had previously run a lifestyle blog called The Tig before marrying Harry, and brands like Goop have shown there's a market for celebrity-backed lifestyle products and advice. However, according to Bauer's research, the launch was rushed due to cash flow pressures. Rather than taking time to develop high-quality products and build a solid business foundation, the couple apparently felt pressure to get something to market quickly to generate revenue. This rush allegedly led to problems with sourcing, with products coming from suppliers who had been linked to labor controversies. If true, this would be particularly damaging, given Harry and Meghan's stated commitment to ethical business practices and social responsibility. They've positioned themselves as conscious consumers and ethical actors who care deeply about issues like workers' rights and fair labor practices. To then launch products sourced from questionable suppliers would represent a significant contradiction between their stated values and their actual behavior. Even Harry's proudest achievement, the Invictus Games, apparently comes under scrutiny in Bauer's book. The Invictus Games, for those unfamiliar, is an international sporting event for wounded, injured, and sick military personnel and veterans. Harry founded the Games in 2014, inspired by his own military service and the Warrior Games he attended in the United States. The event has been widely praised and is generally viewed as one of Harry's most meaningful contributions. However, the book reportedly reveals that internal audits discovered embezzlement by a trusted aide within the organization. This is the kind of scandal that could seriously damage the reputation of any non-profit or charitable venture. When people donate money or time to support wounded veterans, they expect that support to reach its intended recipients. If funds are being stolen by people in positions of trust, it betrays everyone involved. According to Bauer's account, Harry was forced to personally cover the losses from this embezzlement, and the scandal has been kept quiet to avoid damaging the game's reputation. This puts Harry in a difficult position. On one hand, protecting the reputation of the games makes sense because they do important work and shouldn't be defined by one person's criminal behavior. On the other hand, covering up financial wrongdoing, even for understandable reasons, can create its own problems and leaves the organization vulnerable if the truth eventually comes out through other means. What connects all of these professional setbacks is a pattern of projects that begin with great expectations but end in disappointment, cancellation, or scandal. The Spotify podcast that was supposed to launch a media empire but lasted one season. The Netflix projects that go over budget and get shelved. The lifestyle brand that's rushed to market with questionable sourcing. Even the Invictus Games, Harry's most successful and meaningful project, was touched by a financial scandal. Bauer's framing of these failures as self-inflicted is significant. He's not arguing that the couple has been sabotaged by jealous competitors or undermined by a hostile media, though they might make those claims themselves. Instead, he's suggesting that their problems stem from how they've conducted themselves, their demands, their decisions, their apparent inability to work collaboratively with experienced professionals in their respective fields. This narrative directly challenges the victimhood story that Harry and Meghan have often told. In their telling, they're people who have been unfairly treated by the media, by the royal family, and by various institutions. They left the UK seeking freedom and fair treatment. But if Bauer's sources are accurate, what they've actually encountered in America is the normal rough and tumble of business and entertainment, where results matter, where you have to deliver on promises, and where being difficult to work with has consequences regardless of how famous you are. The accumulation of these professional disappointments has real implications beyond just money and reputation. Each failure makes the next project harder to launch because potential partners become wary. Each burnt bridge means one fewer ally in an industry where relationships and reputation are everything. And each public disappointment reinforces a narrative of decline that becomes harder and harder to reverse. At the core of Bauer's sequel is apparently the human story behind all the professional setbacks and financial pressures, the impact these struggles have had on Harry and Meghan's relationship itself. According to early reports about the book's content, Bauer portrays their marriage as a union that's buckling under enormous external pressures while also dealing with significant internal conflicts. This is perhaps the most sensitive territory the book explores as it moves beyond business dealings and public controversies into the private dynamics of a relationship. The book reportedly draws heavily on accounts from former staff members who worked in the couple's Montecito household. These sources apparently describe an environment characterized by significant tension, a workplace where the atmosphere was often strained and uncomfortable. Working in someone's home is inherently different from a typical office environment because the lines between professional and personal become blurred. Staff members in such situations often witness things that would remain private in other contexts, from arguments to personal habits to the day-to-day reality of how a couple interacts. One of the recurring themes in these staff accounts, according to Bauer's book, involves what sources describe as Meghan's controlling tendencies. Specifically, the book claims that she monitored Harry's communications with old friends from his life before their marriage. If accurate, this would represent a significant point of contention in any relationship. Most people value some degree of independence and privacy in their friendships, and feeling monitored or restricted can breed resentment over time. The book apparently details a particular incident from 2024 where tensions over this issue came to a head. According to Bauer's sources, Harry wanted to arrange a reunion with friends from his time at Eton, the prestigious boarding school he attended as a teenager. These would be people he'd known for decades, friends from before his life became entirely defined by his role as a working royal and then by his marriage and subsequent departure from royal life. However, Meghan allegedly vetoed this reunion, leading to a significant argument where Harry stormed out of their home. This kind of conflict touches on fundamental questions about identity and autonomy within a relationship. Harry has undergone enormous changes in his life over the past several years. He left behind his country, his family, his military connections, and most of his old social circle. If he's also being prevented from maintaining contact with childhood friends, it raises questions about isolation and whether he's lost too much of his former self in the process of building this new life with Meghan. The aftermath of this argument is particularly revealing according to Bauer's account. The book claims that the incident prompted Harry to seek therapy on his own, separate from any couples counselling they might have been doing together. In these solo sessions, Harry allegedly expressed deep-seated regrets about having left the United Kingdom. This is significant because publicly, Harry has consistently defended the decision to step back from royal duties and relocate to California. He's framed it as necessary for his mental health and for protecting his family. But if he's privately expressing regret to a therapist, it suggests the reality may be more complicated than the public narrative. The question of regret is complex, though. People can simultaneously believe they made the right decision at the time while also mourning what was lost. Harry might genuinely believe that leaving was necessary given the circumstances, while also feeling sad about what he gave up and uncertain about whether the trade-offs have been worth it. This kind of ambivalence is very human and doesn't necessarily mean he wants to undo everything, but it does suggest he's wrestling with difficult questions about the path his life has taken. The book also apparently provides new details about the ongoing rift with Harry's family, particularly with his brother William. According to Bowers' sources, Harry wrote a letter to William in 2025 attempting to reconcile. This would have taken considerable courage given how publicly fractured their relationship has become. The brothers were once extremely close, united by the shared trauma of losing their mother and by their unique understanding of what it means to grow up in the royal spotlight. However, the letter was apparently ignored. According to the book, William and other members of the royal family feared that any reconciliation attempt could lead to more leaks, more private conversations finding their way into books, interviews, or Netflix documentaries. This fear isn't unreasonable given what's already happened. Harry's memoir Spare included numerous private conversations and incidents involving family members. The Netflix documentary featured personal footage and discussions of family matters. From the royal family's perspective, trusting Harry with private information or intimate family moments has become risky. This creates a tragic cycle. Harry may genuinely want to rebuild relationships with his family, but his past actions have created an environment where trust is impossible. And without trust, meaningful reconciliation becomes extremely difficult. Each side has grievances, and each side feels wronged, but neither can move forward without vulnerability that neither seems willing or able to offer. The book doesn't spare the couple's children from scrutiny either. According to Bowers' reporting, there have been disagreements between Harry and Meghan about how to raise Archie and Lilibet. Meghan allegedly pushed for homeschooling as a way to shield the children from royal scrutiny and media attention. From her perspective, this probably seems like protecting her children from the kind of invasive coverage and public judgment that she's experienced. Harry, however, reportedly resisted this idea, fearing it would echo his own sheltered upbringing. This concern makes sense given Harry's history. He was raised in a very protected environment, attending exclusive schools and having limited interaction with people outside royal and aristocratic circles. Many of his comments over the years have suggested he found this isolation difficult and that it left him unprepared for certain aspects of adult life. He might worry that homeschooling would similarly isolate his own children. The book also apparently includes details about Lilibet's christening that left Harry upset. According to Bowers' sources, the godparents were chosen based on celebrity status and potential networking value rather than genuine personal relationships. If true, this would represent the commercialization of what should be a sacred family milestone, turning a religious ceremony into something more like a business networking opportunity. For Harry, who despite everything still seems to have some reverence for tradition and genuine relationships, this would likely feel wrong. Bowers' investigation apparently also revisits Meghan's past with some new revelations. There's discussion of her connections to Soho House, the exclusive members club where she and Harry reportedly first met or had early dates. The book explores the role of Marcus Anderson, who has been described as both a friend and a kind of handler or fixer for Meghan. According to Bowers' research, Anderson orchestrated introductions to influential figures during Meghan's pre-Harry years, including potential romantic partners. This framing suggests a degree of calculation and social climbing in Meghan's approach to relationships and networking. Again, interpretation matters here. One could view this as an ambitious woman strategically building connections to advance her career and social standing, something many successful people do. Or one could see it as cynical and manipulative, using people as stepping stones. The truth, as usual, probably contains elements of both. Perhaps most explosively, the book apparently references a diary from Meghan's acting days that detailed her ambitions to marry into power. According to Bowers' account, Harry discovered this diary after they had already left the UK, and it fueled paranoia about her true motives for marrying him. If such a diary exists and contains such content, it would be deeply hurtful for Harry to read. It would raise questions about whether Meghan married him for love or for status, wealth, and access. However, it's worth noting that many people have aspirations and goals written down in journals that sound calculating when read out of context years later. Someone might write about wanting to marry someone successful or powerful, while also being capable of genuine love when they actually meet the right person. The existence of such ambitions doesn't necessarily negate authentic feelings, though it's understandable why Harry might be shaken by such a discovery. Looking forward, the book apparently analyzes the couple's various attempts at reinvention. It discusses Meghan's political aspirations, including reports that she explored the possibility of running for the Senate. According to Bauer's sources, these plans were abandoned after internal polling showed that Meghan was a divisive figure who would face significant opposition. The decision not to run was apparently based on pragmatic calculation rather than loss of interest in politics. There's also discussion of potential future projects, including speculation about a sequel to Harry's memoir. The book apparently characterizes this as a cash grab that backfired, though it's unclear if this refers to a sequel that was planned but cancelled or to the reception of the first book itself, which sold well but generated enormous controversy and may have damaged Harry's relationships beyond repair. Perhaps most dramatically, Bauer reports on whispers of a trial separation in late 2025. According to these rumors, Harry spent several weeks living in a New York hotel, contemplating whether to return to the United Kingdom on his own. This separation was allegedly prompted by ongoing disagreements about where they should focus their lives. Meghan apparently insisted on maintaining their American base and building their future in the United States, while Harry struggled with homesickness and a longing for his former life. The idea of Harry returning to the UK alone would represent a complete unwinding of the decision they made together in 2020. It would mean acknowledging that the grand experiment of building a new life in America had failed. It would mean facing his family after everything that's happened, all the accusations and revelations. It would potentially mean leaving his children behind or entering into a complicated custody arrangement. The fact that Harry apparently seriously contemplated this option suggests just how difficult things may have become. Ultimately, according to Bauer's framing, Harry and Meghan emerge as tragic figures. They're not villains in his telling, but rather people who have become victims of their own narrative. They've trapped themselves in a cycle where they blame external forces for their problems while making decisions that create new problems. They've burned bridges while telling themselves they're standing up for their principles. They've sought victimhood as an identity while resenting that it hasn't brought them the sympathy and support they expected. The book's conclusion apparently emphasizes how the couple has worked to conceal their struggles behind a carefully maintained public image of success and happiness. They post smiling photos on social media. They make appearances at high-profile events. They issue statements about their various projects and initiatives. But beneath that surface, if Bauer's reporting is accurate, there's financial stress, professional disappointment, relationship strain, and increasing isolation. For Meghan in particular, according to Bauer's analysis, this kind of exposure would be especially difficult to handle. The book apparently characterizes her as someone who cares deeply about controlling her narrative and her public image. Having someone like Bauer, with his reputation for thorough research and his willingness to include unflattering details, publish over 400 pages about the reality behind that carefully constructed image would be threatening to that control. The fact that no legal action was taken against Bauer's first book, despite its many critical claims, suggests that he and his publishers are confident in their sourcing and evidence. This means that similar confidence likely exists for the sequel. If Harry and Meghan believe the claims are false or defamatory, they would presumably pursue legal remedies. The absence of such action might indicate either that the claims are substantially true or that challenging them would require opening themselves up to discovery and cross-examination that they'd rather avoid. As the publication date approaches, the question becomes how this book will impact public perception and what it might mean for Harry and Meghan's future. They've weathered criticism before and continue to have devoted supporters who view them sympathetically, but there's also a sense that public patience may be wearing thin, that people are tired of the drama and ready to move on to other stories. If Bauer's book is as comprehensive and damaging as early reports suggest, it could make their path forward even more difficult than it already is.